homeschooling, extracurriculars, co-ops, and dual enrollment courses. We're going to talk about our experiences with all of that and more on this special Blue-Haired Conservatives episode of the Subtle Rampage Podcast. Let's get into it.
Warning, the following program contains critical thinking, honest opinions, viewpoints on culture that may seem conservative, and a positive view on absolute detestable things such as marriage and children. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the Subtle Rampage Podcast, where I discuss the things that I feel like discussing. My name is Adelia Kirchner, and this is Shawna Huskey, my fellow blue-haired conservative and best friend. Say ayo!
Ayo!
Yes, sir! She's a quiet one, but she can get there. I promise.
It takes time, but eventually.
We got it. So you grew up homeschooled, right?
Yes.
That's
for the most part.
That's crazy. That's really crazy.
Very crazy.
You're so weird.
I know.
Actually, I was also homeschooled. We're both homeschool alumni. So I thought it would be a fun conversation to just get on here and kind of give a general overview of what homeschooling was like for us and maybe how that ended up translating into certain aspects of our lives thus far. So to start us off here, Shawna, did you ever go to public school?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah? When did you go?
Kindergarten, first and second grade.
Okay, so like starting right off the bat going to public school.
Yeah, it wasn't my parents' original plan, but yeah.
Gotcha. So what was public school like for little kid you?
Little kid me hated it. I dealt with all of it pretty much. The bullies, the mean teachers. I only had one nice teacher. Okay. My last teacher gave me an ulcer. Yeah, I had some nice big holes in my stomach from stress because my teacher wouldn't help me with math, which is not my strong suit to this day.
And we are talking kindergarten, first grade, second grade, like kid level, where you're still needing to like be alongside kids.
Yes, very much. Like I wasn't getting that time. My kindergarten teacher always put me in timeout, and from what I can recall, it was for no reason other than she did not want to look at my face. And I know that because she told that to me one time. I was sitting there, and she's like, "Turn around. I don't want to see your face."
Dude, can you imagine like being an adult and like saying that to a child that you're getting paid to take care of and teach? Yeah. So, but you said that's not, that wasn't the initial plan. So why did you end up being homeschooled?
It was just mainly a financial and job situation with my parents. Like, they were both working in completely separate places at completely separate hours. It was just better for my, grandparents because that's where we were living with at the time. They were the main caretakers.
Yeah, that's who would have taken care of you if you were homeschooled.
And they are older, so it would be more difficult to like try to do that and learn how to do that as a grandparent than like just sending me to public school, like other people deal with me.
So your mom never really wanted to send you to public school. That's just what ended up happening for necessity's sake. So obviously you went to second grade as public school student, and then third grade you were homeschooled.
Third grade on, I was homeschooled.
Okay, I gotcha. And what did, like, was there anything else, like what was your mom's reasoning for wanting to homeschool to begin with, do you know?
I think it's just from her personal experiences, also dealing with bullying and just general bad people in the public school system. Not all public school people are bad. It's just majority of experiences that I know of are bad.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of people in those environments. There's a lot of students, there's a lot of teachers, there's a lot of staff, there's a lot of people. When you put a lot of people into an environment, there's going to be negative experiences for some of those people.
Yeah.
It's just the reality. No matter if that's school or summer camp or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's going to be people who have fine experiences, but because there are so many people, not everybody's going to have a good experience. But so your mom probably kind of did that because of just the way that she grew up then.
Yeah, that's as far as I was told.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's kind of like similar to the reason that my parents decided to homeschool. I mean, my mom had a lot of rough experiences growing up, lower socioeconomic status, just areas with not great schools. Corporal punishment was still legal, so my mom had a lot of very negative, borderline abusive experiences with her public school time, and and is still like recalling instances to this day, being like, oh my goodness, I completely forgot, like blanked out about this happening, but I just remember that this happened. Like, that's crazy. But
yeah, my dad had very similar experiences, like with the paddle and
stuff.
Like...
just insane stuff. But yeah, so that was part of it. And then my mom was in the public school system growing up, and then my dad, he went to Lutheran school, Lutheran private school all the way through. And so both of them, I think, knew that there was something better and knew that if, they could cater a better education for their kids, they wanted to. And my mom was like, I want to homeschool. And my dad was like, okay, sure. If that's what you want to do, that's what we're going to do. And now they have me. Their pride and joy, along with six other children who are growing up and becoming their own people. And I don't know, I love homeschooling. We're just gonna put that out there. I love homeschooling.
Yeah, it definitely has like a very positive outlook, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know that there are people who didn't like being homeschooled, or they have their reasons, but I boil down a lot of people who don't like homeschooling. I normally feel like what their stories normally boil down to is just a lack of wanting to homeschool on their parents' part.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's mainly on the parents to foster a good education for the child.
It doesn't mean you have to have the money to do all the stuff. It doesn't mean
you have to have a degree.
Yeah, you don't have to be a freaking like certified teacher to homeschool your kids. But there are, I think we've both talked about this before, like there are a lot of kids who get pulled out of public school for because of bullying, and their parents will pull them out and homeschool them. But the parent never really wanted to homeschool in the first place. They just know that their kid's getting bullied and they don't want them to be bullied, so they pull them out, and then they don't really want to homeschool. They don't really put the time and effort into putting together like a curriculum that works for that child. Yeah. Sometimes it'll just be bringing the public school curriculum home, or giving them like Khan Academy math and then going to work. And so that stuff's never gonna turn out well. It wouldn't turn out well if it took place in the public school either. So it's just kind of one of those things. But I think the majority of people who have parents who want to homeschool, they do have at least a homeschool experience that leaves them in the same decent spot a public school experience.
Yeah,
like
neutral.
It's never worse than public school. Like, I know there are people, there's always exceptions to the rule, but in general, it's never worse than public school. Just homeschool your kids, please. If your heart's in the right place, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
At the very least, they'll grow up and they'll know that their parents cared about them enough to put that much time and effort into spending time with them and being a part of their education on a daily basis.
Yeah.
What did homeschooling look like for you in your younger years? Like, before you got to, like, 8th grade? Like, were you sitting down, like, at a desk doing schoolwork on a schedule? Were you kind of just hanging out on the couch doing the, like, what did a homeschool day look like for you when you were a kid?
In the beginning, it was trying to copy public school, because my mom was still in the beginning phases of researching this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And she thought that in order to homeschool your child has to sit down and do all the subjects for 8 hours straight every day, being very, very strict, and like basically bringing the public school home. But it's just you and your kid. And that's not what homeschooling is. And we found that out real quick.
Sorry to interrupt, but side note, when you try to bring public school home, it's way more difficult on you as a parent.
Mhm.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, it makes things way too stressful, and it makes things way too confusing, and it's unnecessary. Like, there's a reason. So go ahead.
Like, so most of my work was at the table until like my mom started to until my
Words.
mom until my mom started to be like, okay, you can do English in bed, because like sometimes I'll wake up one morning and be like, oh, I'm really motivated, I want to get stuff done, but mom's like really tired because I had a baby sister at the time, like, and a toddler sister, okay, and so I just like would start doing it on my own, and I would just be in bed, the couch, kitchen table, wherever I felt comfortable, just physically. And if I was comfortable physically, I would do homework just fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a struggle.
Yeah, you weren't being forced to sit in an uncomfortable tiny desk in the same classroom for however long.
No. I did have the lovely experience of my dad trying to get me to finish math one night with a timer that we had in our kitchen. Don't do that. Don't do that. If your child already struggles with math and they've been sitting at their desk for hours trying to get it done, because they're just not math witted, okay, and then you come home and you like see them and struggling, you help them. You don't like put them on a timer because you want to go to bed. Okay, that's just all I'm gonna say.
It's giving the time when Shawna turned 20. Yeah, when Shawna turned 20 for her birthday or whatever, she just wanted to stay home and have a chill day, so she was like baking a cake, and I kept setting like 10-minute timers. And I was like, you have 10 minutes to complete this cake, and she was getting so irritated.
Because they give you more than 10 minutes.
On a cooking show?
Yes, on a baking show.
But I just wanted to up the stakes.
No. I was going for chill vibes, not ha.
But yeah, so besides the timer situation,
it was mostly good, and that was it was like on the other parents' part, not the main teacher's part.
It'd be like that. Yeah. Everybody has family moments.
Love you, Dad.
Hi. No, we all have moments.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Where, especially like as parents and children, like there's so many like miscommunications almost, because children's minds are so different than parents' minds, and it's like if you both were parents you'd understand, if you both were children you'd understand, but it's just
it's like it's a translation process.
Yeah, so it'd be like that. What about curriculum? Like, when, I don't know if you remember much from when you were younger, but like what was curriculum like was it all like a Becca, or you know, was it all Pearson, like, you know, like type of
Becca was definitely really strong. I don't remember how it was in the very beginning. I just know that like later on, Becca became a very strong brand in our family's curriculum. Also, I don't know what brand these little pamphlets are from, but they're called life packs, and they're like, you do like a little booklet each week or two, and then it finishes the entire school year when you're done. I hated those, by the way. But
were they for all subjects?
They were for all subjects. I had them for, when I was doing them then, I had them for all subjects except math. With math, I had Math UC.
Okay, I did Math UC.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually liked Math UC until I got to, like, I think
it was algebra or something.
I think once I got to algebra, I didn't like Math UC, but when it was like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, all that stuff, Math UC curriculum, I liked.
Yeah.
And, you know, what was funny is, like, we found out apparently that little kid me actually liked math.
Yeah, that was shocking to find. I
have not liked math in a really long time because, like, I hated it. Even when I understood it, like, it was like, okay, cool, I understand this. I just don't need to use it, so I hate this. But we were like going through some of my like old childhood like stories that I wrote and journals and stuff, and there was a lot of journal entries where like I talked about how much I liked math. So apparently I liked it, and that was probably when I was using Math UC. So for you homeschool parents out there who want a math curriculum for your young kids, Math UC might be an option. Did you ever do anything like online, like videos or any of those types of curriculums?
Online in the sense of that it was on the computer, not necessarily through like an education program like a school or anything like that. It was just like, it was like another like thing you buy from a homeschool curriculum thing, and then you just did it on the computer. I remember it coming like CD packs, and I hated them. I always was grumpy, and I would do like the grumpy crossovers, while watching my dad install it.
Arms crossed, little pout lips.
Honestly, yeah. But that's where I did a lot of my early year homeschooling experience. It's also where I picked up I did English, but where I picked up French, because there was like a French curriculum that I wanted to do, and it was available to middle schoolers, so I did that.
Okay, I gotcha.
I enjoyed that one. That's the only one I enjoyed.
Yeah, there were a couple times throughout my, like, younger years before high school that my mom would get, like, DVD curriculums where you would, watch, like, a lecture, and then you would go work in the workbook and whatever, so stuff like that. And I personally was never somebody who learned very well from just watching a video or, like, any of that type of stuff, like, the videos, the online type stuff. It was just I never learned the same as I did from just like textbook, like in-person, hands-on type of learning.
In the same way, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why I hated it so much.
Probably.
Because like I did better. I felt like I learned more when I did it in a book.
Yeah. And that's fair. Like, I know that one of my brothers, he enjoyed, like, the DVD lessons. He liked that. He liked, like, the online, like, games to learn things and stuff like that. It just wasn't my thing, and so after a few times of getting me curriculum like that, my mom was like, okay, clearly this is not working, and kind of switched it up a bit, and we just, like, worked together, especially as I started to get a little bit older, to pick out the curriculum that we thought was going to work the best for me. And that's one of the best things about homeschooling, in my opinion, is that you get to really focus on your kid, on your student, like how they learn, what they like to learn, how they like to learn certain subjects. You know, is your kid gonna enjoy science by just reading a book about like all these crazy experiments that got done? Are they gonna enjoy like science by learning hands-on, doing science experiments with you? Like there's a million different ways you can teach a subject.
It's really dependent on like the type of learner your kid is, and which is a reason why I really like homeschooling, because it is tailored to fit your child, and you can work with your child to give them the best education experience you can.
Exactly. Like, I remember, like, being a kid and going to, like, homeschool conventions, like, Teach Them Diligently for you homeschoolers out there, and, like, you know, going through the vendor hall where all these curriculum people come and bring curriculum, you can, you know, flip through it, buy it, bookmark it for later, you know, and me and my mom would go through, and my mom would pick out curriculum that she liked, and then she'd be like, hey, what do you think about this? And then I would either be like, nope, not gonna work, or like I was personally, because my mom was spending so much time trying to figure out what worked for me, I was able to kind of recognize for myself what worked for me and how I learned. And so I feel like that kind of definitely helped later on in life with my independence and like knowing what was going to work for me studying wise, what was going to work for me in college, you know, that type of thing. But yeah, no, it's just a really cool part about homeschooling is you can mix and match and you can tailor everything to your kid. And, you know, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on a fancy curriculum to do that either. There's a lot of free resources out there. And literally just books. You can use just literature. Like, they don't have to be textbooks. It doesn't have to be curriculum.
Yeah, literally. One of the literature books I had growing up was just little snippets of all these, like, classical literature stories, all just in just one book. I mean, you could just send your kid to the library and they could read those full books, or they could read a chapter out of each book. You just figure out what works for you, what interests them.
Yeah.
What exposes them to, like, the different type of literature you want to expose them to.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, if your kid is like super interested in like World War II, okay, like that's like what they're interested in for like a year or two of their lives. Like for me, when I was younger, like I was super interested in the Civil War. Like that was what I was obsessed with. I was reading historical fiction books about it. I went to Civil War camp. I got like a Civil War gun, like a fake one from Civil War camp.
I know that one.
My siblings Shawna didn't know, I think, that I had it.
I saw it.
She'd like seen it in my room or whatever, but I guess one of my siblings last year, like when Shawna was visiting me, like ran in the room with it or whatever and was holding it and pointed it at her, and she like flipped out.
It was a high intense moment to start with, and then like that happened, and it was just like, ha!
And it is now one of my favorite memories.
Yes.
At Shawna's detriment, but she agrees that it was hilarious.
It's funny. I thought I was going to die, but it's funny.
But yeah, no, when I was younger, I was super obsessed with the Civil War, and my mom recognized that and was like, okay, that's what you want to learn about? We're going to learn all about the Civil War. And so, like, I did lap books, which are like, little, it's like getting a poster board presentation, but it's in a book form, and you do all these different projects and you put them in the book, and it's a lap book, and it has all sorts of like little snippets of information and little projects that you did. I built like paper fortresses, like replicas, all sorts of stuff, and my mom would take us to like history fairs that were like from that time period, and and that was my history for like a year or two, I think, because that was what I was interested in. It didn't mean I didn't learn about other things. It just meant that my mom recognized that I was like loving learning about a particular subject, and she said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So
it's encouraging your child to learn.
Exactly. You want your kid to enjoy learning. You want them to seek out that for themselves, especially when they leave your house. You want them to keep being open to learning because they enjoy it. But yeah, so what did homeschooling for high school look for you? I think a lot of people who consider homeschooling, like, they tend to be like totally like confident in their skills when it comes to the younger grades and stuff.
Yeah.
But then it's like homeschooling high schoolers scares a lot of parents, and they feel like they aren't qualified to do it. Like, they don't realize that they don't have to know everything because there's so many resources out there.
Yeah, and I think it's an understandable fear to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, just, it is intimidating.
And then you get lots of people, going, but you're not a teacher, how are you gonna do it?
Yeah, that I've gotten that too many times.
But yeah, so like, what did your high school experience look like as far as the like education part of it?
The education part of it. I mean, I wasn't really working with my mom much anymore at that point. My mom wasn't really checking my homework to like grade, but she will check in from time to time.
Yeah. Independence, guys.
Yes, I was taught to be independent, basically. I joke with my mom about how, like, yeah, you just threw books at me and told me to go learn, and that's what I did,
But it's like they did prepare us to get to that point of being able to learn ourselves.
That's exactly right. That's what I was going to follow up with. Like there was the foundation to throw books at me, okay? And like the expectation of me knowing that I'm going to go do it. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's that trust bond.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just mostly like working on my own, getting my work done within a few hours, and then doing whatever I wanted the rest of the day. As I got older, like maybe like my last 2 years of high school, I did dual enrollment. I did mixture at first of homeschool dual enrollment, but then like I did more dual enrollment, which was a lot of gen ed stuff that I would have taken in high school as honor classes anyways.
Yeah.
So it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, my high school was pretty similar in the aspect of, like, at that point, I was doing a lot of the stuff on my own. My mom would, get curriculum and give it to me with kind of like an outline of what needed to be done when for the whole school year. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, my mom, she would make like a whole like list, like week by week, like, okay, this is what you need to get done. Mm. And then, like, if I didn't feel like, doing language one day, I was like, I really don't want to do this. I'd go talk to her and be like, can you change it? And so, like, what she would do is she would double it the next day. Yeah. So, or double it somewhere. So that way I still finished on time, like, of our schedule. Not a public school schedule, just our schedule of when we wanted to have, like, a Christmas break, a Thanksgiving break, a summer break, that type of thing.
Yeah. No, my mom definitely, like, a lot of time does go into planning for your kids. But, you know, even like as they do get older though, even high school, like depending on what your kid is like the type of, you know, organizer, or like, you know, if your kid is the type of person who likes to plan out their own time, then, you know, you just tell them, hey, this is what has to be done for the whole school year. I'm gonna let you figure that out.
Yeah.
And assign it to yourself, and then I'm gonna check in on you and make sure that you're doing it, type of thing.
Building time management skills.
Exactly. There we go. Another benefit to being homeschooled.
Wow, so many things.
Yeah, you know.
It's crazy.
But you mentioned dual enrollment, and I mean, by the time I got to high school, I was living in Texas. This is after I moved away from Florida. So me and Shawna were separated.
It was very, like,
it
sad,
was very, very,
depressing.
very sad. Yeah.
A lot of those things.
But yeah, so we were long distance friends, and Shawna is 2 years older than me, so she had already been doing dual enrollment.
Yeah.
For about 2 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because you started doing dual enrollment at 16.
16, yeah.
And then I started doing dual enrollment at 16 as well. So it was my junior year.
She finally understood my struggles.
Yeah. And I mean, I made fun of her, and I still maintain my making fun of her stress. Because, you know.
Yeah, she finds it quite entertaining. And I don't know why. I thought she loved me, but, you know, that's another thing, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have that conversation off camera.
Wow.
Off the record.
Off the record.
Hey, you have to find the funniness in things, otherwise everything is depressing. I know there's some of you out there who would disagree, but differences in personality and outlook, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I spent my high school years in Texas, and so in Texas, for dual enrollment students who are homeschooled, the cost of those dual enrollment courses at the college, it isn't covered. I think the community college that I went to, that was local to us, their dual enrollment rate was half of what a college student would pay to take the course, but there's no program, or at least there wasn't at the time, that would cover that cost for homeschool dual enrollment students. There is a program that covers those costs for public school students, and I think private school students probably have something like that, but that was not available for homeschoolers. And there was scholarships that were open to dual enrollment students, so I did apply for those, and that covered, like, I think 1, maybe 2 classes per semester or per year or something, but it still costed my parents money. But at that point, I had maybe like 2 or 3 like high school courses that, you know, I still needed to take if I wasn't gonna, or if I was gonna do dual enrollment. There were only a couple more things I had to do that were strictly high school level, so it just made sense to go ahead and knock out the college course as well. So that's what I did junior and senior year of high school, is I did dual enrollment. But you did dual enrollment at just community college, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I did dual enrollment for, I think, 3 semesters at community college, and then my last semester of high school, I did my dual enrollment courses at Southwestern Assemblies of God University, which is a Christian university in Texas. And so those were 2 very different experiences, for sure. One was a community college professor type environment, and then the other was like a university level, like English courses, and it like solidified for me that I like loved talking about literature and like just writing. But it was a very, very different, for sure. Hey guys, Adelia here. I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about me and Shawna's experiences as homeschoolers. I know I'm cutting y'all off right in the middle of our conversation about dual enrollment, but don't worry, part 2 of this episode is going to drop next week, and we're going to talk all about how dual enrollment courses played out for us specifically, and we're also going to get into a bit about extracurriculars, what resources we used, what resources we weren't able to use. But as always, Subtle Rampage podcast episodes are available on YouTube, Spotify, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's all up to you. I appreciate you tuning in. I like to talk, I always have, but it's even better when people listen to me talk, so thank you. Make sure you're subscribed and notifications turned on so that you don't miss our future episodes. Thank you. Bye-bye.